Moreland. Gathered here along with Diaz, we have Commissioner Nick Skull, Commissioner Kip McFetrick. We also have in attendance our Township Manager, Matt Canlin, our Assistant Township Manager, Randy Scheiber, as well as our solicitor.
Okay, with that said, I just want to announce the full board did meet in executive session prior to these committee meetings tonight for personnel matters.
And our solicitor, as everyone knows, is Sean Kilkenny. Okay, we're going to start. First of all, gentlemen, do you approve the minutes from our last meeting of September the 25th?
Yes.
I do. You do?
No
okay,
changes.
We can move right along then, right along. Oh, Commissioner Skull, would you give us the sad news, please?
Phillies lost 5-1.
Thank you. Now we may move on now.
Yes, so there's no hurry.
We've got a seventh game, okay? So tickets are available in the lobby before you leave. We're going to start with our police commissioners. Chief Block, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioner Whiting. It's my pleasure to present the September monthly report for the police department. We responded to 1,183 calls for service in the month of September. The total calls for year to date for 2023 is 11,647 calls. The call volume on the outlying years between September of 2020 at the same time was 10,292 versus what we have today at 11,647. Shows a 12% increase in our call volume. Part 1 crimes that we investigated by the police department in September, there was 1 aggravated assault that was cleared by an arrest, 1 burglary, 1 auto theft, 31 theft offenses. Of those, 15 were cleared by an arrest. Part 2 crimes that were reported and investigated by the police department, there were 2 narcotics offenses that were cleared by an arrest, 3 public intoxication offenses, and 22 other crimes that were committed and they were cleared by an arrest. The patrol division was busy. They conducted the following proactive measures. There were 437 vehicle investigations, 69 hazardous traffic violations, 105 non-hazardous traffic violations, 2 parking citations, 22 contacts with homeless throughout the township, 10 DUI investigations, 1 during the day, and 9 between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. Our highway and traffic unit was also busy. They had 45 calls for service, 4 traffic and parking issues, 3 citizen complaints, 5 directed patrols, 196 traffic stop motor vehicle investigations, 138 warnings were issued, 40 hazardous traffic citations issued, 42 non-hazardous traffic citations, 261 bus patrol violations, 1 abandoned vehicle, 1 child seat installation, and 7 motor vehicle inspections. 1 was taken out of service and 2 drivers were taken out of service. Our Detective Bureau CID was also busy. They opened up 18 new cases in the month of September. They executed 10 arrest warrants. 1 was for a robbery warrant, and I'll just refresh the committee's memory that we had the Luke Oil on Moreland Road was robbed. It was a strong arm robbery earlier this year. The DNA was processed that was obtained by our detective unit, and it came back, identified a subject, and we were able to get a warrant and take that individual into arrest. So we did clear that. There were warrants issued for corrupt organized retail investigations. I'll talk about that momentarily. And there were 3 harassment stalking warrants issued. There were 4 underage drinking offenses investigated by the Detective Bureau and 4 retail theft warrants. 6 search warrants were served. 1 was for an apartment, 1 for a DNA sample, 1 vehicle search, 1 cell phone search, and 2 bank credit card statement search warrants. What I spoke about earlier, the organized retail theft corrupt organization. In September, our Upper Moreland Detective Vince Small and Montgomery County Detective Rick Bagley from the Montgomery County Detective Bureau conducted a year-long investigation into a corrupt organization involving retail theft operations. The scheme of this organization involved the ordering of retail products online from Home Depot and Lowe's stores throughout Pennsylvania. The targeted retail merchandise included battery-operated tools. Members of the organization would pick up the ordered items, remove the battery or promotional products, and make a return of the partial product for a full credit. from the stores. The stolen batteries and promotional products were sold by the corrupt organization, an amount which resulted in the proceeds from these unlawful activities. The investigation led to the seizure of substantial amount of proceeds and products from the organization. And there was also a press release that was put out by the district attorneys on that as well. And then on Sunday, September 24th, there was an aggravated assault with a firearm where Detective Mark Bold and other members of the CID unit initiated an investigation into an aggravated assault with a firearm that occurred in the parking lot of Big Heads Bar on York Road. It was determined through the investigation that the victim was pistol whipped in the parking lot as he attempted to re-enter the bar, this rendering the victim unconscious. He was transported to Abington Hospital for treatment of his injuries. The offender fled the scene after the assault. A live 9mm round was located in the parking lot. CID conducted numerous interviews of victim witnesses and other parties that were involved. They reviewed surveillance video, which assisted in identifying the offender. Once identified, the offender was located within 24 hours of this incident taking place. A firearm was recovered as part of the investigation. The offender was arrested and charged with aggravated assault and firearms violations. This investigation was adopted as part of the Montgomery County Gun Violence Reduction Task Force, in which we do have a detective serving on that task force, which is Mark Bolden. So it was great work by our patrol officers initially and our detectives. Overview of Part 1 crime statistics. For 2023, we have 19 burglaries year to date. In 2022, we had 15. In 2021, we had 13. In 2020, we had 9 burglaries. Our robbery offenses year to date are 11 robberies. In 2022, there were 3 robberies for the same time period. 2021, 6 robberies. And in 2020, 7 robberies. All the robberies remain under investigation by our detective unit itself. The other thing I'd like to draw everybody's attention to is we have our National Drug Take Back, which occurs twice a year. It'll be this coming Saturday, October 28th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it'll be taking place at the Giant food store on York Road. The other thing is the police department wants to remind everybody, next Tuesday evening is Halloween. For the trick-or-treaters are going out, they should be with their parents, wear some bright clothing and whatnot, as the daylight is getting shorter and shorter. And we remind all drivers to use caution when they're driving through the neighborhoods on the evening of Halloween. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Finally, the bus details dropped below 400. You're down to 200 and something, and it is 400 for several,
Correct.
quite a while.
Correct.
I guess people are starting, maybe getting the idea that it's going to get expensive.
Yes. It's still a civil penalty, but it's reducing, which is a good thing. It's being effective.
Any other commissioner comments? Chief? Any public comments? Chief? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Next, we'll hear from our fire chief, Chief Glassman, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's my pleasure to report the September 2023 Fire Department Report of Activity. Fire calls 79, EMS calls 20, total 99, year-to-date 796. Fire permit inspections 55, fees collected $625, yearly fees $15,165, 8 fire marshal investigations. 3 significant incidents. One was a mutual aid call, was a house fire in Cheltenham. There was a motor vehicle accident, required extensive extrication. There's a photo attached. That occurred at 2955 Edge Hill Road. And on 9/23 at 2314 Parkside, there's actually a hot tub on the gazebo. It was a blow-up hot tub. It's looking like an electrical malfunction created that fire and took out the gazebo at the same time. Emergency management, we participated in the Eastern Montgomery Emergency Management meeting that was held in our station. And we also participated in the county emergency management meeting and monthly training. I also attached with my monthly report a copy of the volunteer activity. That's the very last page of the report. And that concludes my report for this month. Any questions?
Hey, Chief, do you have a fire prevention tip for us for October?
Always have a fire prevention tip. It is coming upon the cold weather. It is time to check the chimneys and flues to make sure that we don't have any carbon monoxide emergencies or that we don't have any chimney fires.
Okay, do we have any commissioner comments for Chief Glassman? we have any, do we have any public comments for Chief Black? Okay, thank you. Okay. Chief Ken, please give us your report.
Thank you, Commissioner. You have before you the July 2023 statistics. 316 calls for service for EMS in Upper Moreland Township, 290 were medical, 16 were fire, 7 motor vehicle collision, and 3 special service. Resulted in 193 patients being transported. As always, the lion's share were transported to Abington Jefferson Hospital. That was 180, and then a division of the other 13 amongst other area hospitals. Once again, looks like for September 23, we had 1 naloxone intervention by EMS. My usual disclaimer, that doesn't mean that they didn't get Narcan from somebody else. It just means in only 1 case where EMS gave Narcan. It might have been given prior to our arrival. Staffing is better than it has been, but again, we're starting to have some issues, and as we come through cold and flu season, getting short-staffed again. If you look at 2023 as compared to 2022, we were at full staffing 3,033 hours in 23 as compared to 2,721 in 22. Had a downgrade to BLS 110 hours as opposed to 404 in 22. And to no status at all, 97 hours as opposed to 115. So while it's certainly getting better, we still want to see that green number, that ALS full staffing, to be at full at 3240, and we like to see zeros in those 2 in the yellow and red columns. So we're still working through it and still working on improving staffing and ability to cover all stations all the time. Brief fund drive update. In September of 23, we received $1,485 from Upper Moreland residents towards subscriptions, an additional $165 as donations. The reminder mailing did go out mid-September, so we expect that we'll see a little bit of a bump again in October. A pretty brief summary for you. We've mentioned this before, but in conjunction with Chief Wack and his peers from the Police Chiefs Association, the Ambulance Association, and Department of Public Safety, we have been participating in active threat rescue task force training. Second Alarmers is not only sending people as students, we've also supplied some of the training cadre. At this point, I believe we've had 5 sessions at the County Fire Academy. It is grant funded, so it takes a little while to get everybody through there, but the goal is to get as many of our staff members as possible through this regional training on how we would respond in conjunction with our partners in law enforcement and rescue task force. So it's going to take a little while to get everybody through, but so far we've had good feedback on it. And our students are coming away definitely with a good experience and having that opportunity to work jointly along with the law enforcement partners. Reminder that our next EMT class starts in November. We do still have a couple of spots left, and believe it or not, we actually still have 1 or 2 scholarships available through the generosity of Penn Community Bank. So if there's anybody interested in enrolling, we are past the early enrollment deadline. In fact, we're past the normal enrollment deadline, but if anybody gets in touch with us quickly, we could probably still get them into that class. And then just finally, a quick update, hot off the presses. And I believe the township, if not all, the commissioners should have received an email from the Department of Public Safety. They have engaged the services to do the EMS study. The kickoff meeting, I believe, is set to be November 15th, and there will be several stakeholder meetings. We are certainly asking, Second Alarmers is asking and urging all of our elected officials and managers that we work with to participate, to give as much information as possible to the consultants, because this is their opportunity to do the study and look at regionalization or what the needs of the system in the area are. So it's expected to take probably a full year, and we did just get the kickoff meeting date. Will be November 15th. I'll keep you posted if I hear any, but there are some communications that will come directly to the township or the elected officials that won't involve EMS, so just keep that on your radar. That's my report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any commissioner comments for Ken?
No. Thank you, Commissioner.
Any public comments for Ken? And thank you very much. We have no old business, we have some new business. I'm going to ask Chief Glassman to talk about that, please, Chief.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I'm asking the commissioners to approve a contract or discuss a contract with PA Recovery so we're able to bill for services for fire department responses. I've spoken with several other fire chiefs throughout the region, many in Montgomery County, that have been very successful at recuperating cost for fire department responses, most specifically along the vehicle accident and extrication incidents that we respond to. I attached the packet. They're called PA Recovery. There's a bunch of testimonials on the last page. And I also have some amounts that were collected by departments in Montgomery County so far this year. Upper Merion, $143,000, Lower Providence, $30,000. Chester, 121,000, Upper Darby, 54,931. What happens is PA Recovery actually taps into our reporting system, and they're able to extract insurance information and bill the insurance companies directly. So there's not an impact to the residents or commuters through the community.
Okay, so you're asking us to approve this?
That's correct.
Okay, commissioners, how do you feel?
I have a question. How do they make money?
From the insurance companies, they bill the insurance companies. We respond to incidents.
Right.
We get the insurance information on our reports or through the police reports, and they bill the insurance companies.
And they get a small percentage of it.
15%, right.
Okay. Great.
I
Great
guess,
idea.
how come we're allowed to do it for our services, but you're not allowed for EMS?
We can. So, I mean, we have a fee for every service we provide. I believe there are some programs in place that the fire chief's talking about that allow the fire company to recover some of their costs for supplies and things expended for vehicle rescues and other things. So we actually do bill for every transport, and
You bill, but the money goes back to the people a lot of times, not to you,
correct.
correct?
But that is separate of this.
Okay, but, and that's the same thing here, though. I just hope if it is billed,
I think you're dealing with indemnity insurance and not health insurance, and so that's, you know, if a person has a covered benefit, they cover it, and it's a claim as opposed to health insurance and the
Okay.
various intricacies that go with health insurance.
okay, that's one of my questions. The other thing is on accidents and stuff like that, I know if it's something at the homes, your homeowner's policies cover a specific amount in that fee, which they expect, as long as our residents are paying for fire already protection. I just don't want them to get billed again, that they would have to put any money out. And since we're assured by this that they won't, then I'm okay with it.
Matt and I met with the owner of the company, and we had a good conversation. He assured us that was the case.
And there are 40, how many other in Montgomery County?
It's like 33.
Yeah, 33 other townships that already do it. We just have never done it.
Okay, so we're saying
Kevin's up there.
Kevin's up.
Hi. Is this an ordinance? Sean?
Yeah, we have to draft one up. We sent a sample over to them, but we came here first.
Okay, and then to Kip's point, what if we respond to something? So we establish a policy we're going to bill. So if someone has a loss and they don't have insurance, are we still billing?
No, they go after the insurance company.
How can we do that?
They don't bill the resident. They only bill the insurance company. And now you can structure it to where you would bill the
I don't know
resident.
how we can do an ordinance like that it's fairly administered. That you know, if you're not capable of paying the bills, okay, I understand that. But I don't understand how an ordinance can say only applicable to insurance companies. It has to be across the board, my interpretation.
Well, I think it's maybe to a certain extent how health insurance actually works right now, because you guys don't get paid by some and you do by others, right?
Yeah, I mean, so to be fair to the commissioner's point, as a health services provider, we have to bill everybody, whether you have insurance. And we couldn't say, we'll only accept it if you have insurance. But I think,
I don't think they're going to collect on that. That's what
Right.
I understand.
Right.
I'm talking about the verbiage in the ordinance. How's it going to be identified that we bill for services? I don't think you can say we bill only insurance companies.
No, but my understanding is the provider is, I mean, we're enabling this to happen, but I understand the provider is not going to go in after they go after the insurance companies or try to go after the insurance companies, they're not going to actively pursue.
Okay.
That's my
So,
Right, that's correct.
and the ordinance isn't going to be written that we have to use that provider. Once we have the ordinance, we can
Well,
pick.
you have an ordinance in place, and then the Board of Commissioners is going to elect the provider.
So PA Recovery, I know nothing about them except what you're telling me now. Is this a 501c? Is it Is it a for-profit company?
It's a for-profit company. He makes 15% of what he collects through all of these communities. It's in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland, and Delaware.
Okay. So where's his competition, or that competition for that business?
I don't know. I
know.
got this through the fire chiefs group. I don't know the answer. I got this through the fire chiefs group. Matt and I met with him. There were
It's great.
33.
It's a great recommendation. I support it. I just have questions about how you're going to, proceed with an ordinance that says we're only going to be applicable to bill and insurance companies. I think, like he said, we bill across the board and then take what you can get.
I don't think you would put that in the ordinance. Yeah,
Ordinance. Right.
right.
Then, like I said, how the company.
I'm just asking a question here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doctors from Upper Marion or
Right.
clients, that's how they do
Right.
it, right? They go ahead and they go after the insurance companies, they will notify people, but they're not gonna actively
Collect.
go after and collect. That's how
Right.
it works.
I got it. And it's exactly how the second alarmers do business. They bill everybody.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't speak out of school, but I mean, I think the concept of charging for these services is not new. I think there are some fire departments that do it already. They do it on their own. And I think that perhaps the company here is taking the opportunity to say, we'll do the legwork for you in return for the funds. But I almost think there was a time where second alarmers billed for accident response under that same provision of the auto insurance rule. And I don't know, but the fire company may have also at one point looked at that many years ago. That it was essentially, I believe it's a provision of, a lot of it's the auto insurance, and it's to recover the costs of oil dry and things like that. So there was always the ability to bill. It was just more work than it was worth. And I'm guessing perhaps this company's trying to take the work out of it for you, but that's just my recollection.
That's exactly what they're doing, because they're chasing down a whole bunch of municipalities and they have staff to handle it. And they tap right into our reporting system.
Okay. Thank you.
I agree with you that, Kevin, we could go to somebody else that does the same thing. It has to be available. We have to look at it, whoever it is. Yeah, it could be another company.
I think that's an interesting name for a business, is PA Recovery. Like, nice work, you know? Sounds like a 501c to me, but it's a for-profit company. And to your point, it's very old. Yeah, it's ancient. Remember the houses with the plaques
Oh, yeah.
where the firefighters would sit and watch it burn?
Yep.
Okay, so that's pay for play. Thank you.
Thank you.
Didn't think you were that old.
Yeah, he's old.
Fire marks.
So Solicitor Kilkenny, do we ask for an ordinance?
That's where request us to continue to work with staff to draft an ordinance for your review, yes.
Okay, that in agreement with my fellow commissioners?
So be it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And Chief Glassman, we have another piece of new business.
Another piece of new business, agenda summary for fee schedule proposal for fire permit inspections. The fire inspection permits there has not been a fee increase since 1989 in the township, believe it or not. I spoke with Captain Fagella, and he started in '89. He said as long as he's been here, the fees have never been adjusted. So I put two options out there, and they're all attached. The first one is what we presently use. It's 4 pages. What I did was I listed the fees that we're paying now, and then I simply went into a cost of living adjustment or the consumer price index and plugged in 1989 and then adjusted it to 2023. So the first one, for example, we'll use Home Depot. That was the one we used because it's 120,000 square feet. Home Depot pays $135 now for their inspection. If we transition to just simply adjusting it to the cost of living over that time without raising it whatsoever, Home Depot will be paying $375. That's probably an addition of about $50,000 on what we're collecting for our inspections right now, just by adjusting them to 2023 numbers. If we transition to a square footage model, instead of having 4 pages, we can break it down into 1 page and break it down the square footage of an occupancy. And I attached 3 other towns that are doing it by square footage now: Montgomery Township, Norristown, and Reading. That same 100,000 plus square foot building that's paying $135 now will be paying $575 on a square footage, and it's one clean sheet. It won't matter what they're doing inside the building, it'll just matter the square footage of the building. And you can see the numbers that other municipalities are getting. Norristown's getting 500 for that. Montgomery Township's getting 570 for that, and Reading's getting 500 for that very same inspection.
When you're looking at that, if you go to, when I had an office on Davisville Road, we had 2 fire extinguishers, and in and out. I don't think you were there for, I don't know, 20 minutes, by the time you get there and go back. How long does it take to do a Home Depot or one of these big boxes where you got multiple?
Well, so that's
How long is
exactly
it?
what I'm saying.
Do you know how long a normal is?
Yeah, 3 or 4 hours it can be to go around the whole building. And we actually included heights in there. There was not heights in there. We included anything over 2, and I included re-inspection fees, because right now there's really not a re-inspection fee. We can go to an occupancy 7 times. There's no re-inspection fee inside the present ordinance.
And what that would do, now that you said re-inspections, that would make people want to do it the first time you're there, not 6 times later.
Right, so what we do is we give them a follow-up. If you fail, we come in there and we say, your rights and signs are out. We come together with a date, or they call and make an appointment. We go back, we re-inspect, there's no cost. If we have to come back, that's technically a 3rd time. When we say a second re-inspection, that's the 3rd time we're there. That now becomes $100. If we have to go back a 4th time, that's $250. Or a 3rd re-inspection, $250, and a 4th re-inspection is $500.
Really, all this is reinforcing compliance to public health and safety. I mean, that's what this is about. You're using our firemen to actually inspect this. So we just want to be reimbursed, because a lot of these, they go back a couple times and they don't bother making the corrections right away. So I like the idea.
And if we transition to the square footage, you can see how it's just one sheet. How many square feet's the occupancy? Here's your number, and we set up an inspection.
Okay. So, my fellow commissioners, we go to square footage.
I think so.
I think it's a good idea,
Okay,
absolutely.
we go to square footage. So, Solicitor Kilkenny, we need
you got a
another
couple questions.
Sure.
And actually, if we're really thinking about this and we talk about 100,000 square feet, like Home Depot, I couldn't even begin to tell you what they net out of Home Depot, and we're talking $500. They steal more than that in 30 seconds there. So I would have no problem with this.
So I like the idea. I like evaluating by square footage. Are you talking retail square footage under roof? Or are we talking about, like, when they set up retail space in the parking lot, when they have outside garden centers? Is that all included?
We're talking under the roof. That's what we're talking.
I think all retail space should be included. But to your point about changes since 1989, no changes, lack of changes. So thank you for that, because from the same era, our 1% tax hasn't changed since 1992. So that's for the rest of the commissioners to consider about when we evaluate change. It's a big picture. Thanks.
Well, we may, I'll tip the hat on this one. I talked to Lieutenant Ruddle this afternoon and Chief Block this evening regarding the false alarms for fire alarms and police emergency alarms. You know, on the 4th false alarm, it cost you $25 on the 4th one. I don't think it's been adjusted since 1977, and him and I were just having that conversation. On the 5th alarm, it cost you $50. So we might be back next month when we do a little more research. That conversation was just going on this afternoon.
To Kevin's point, if you take all retail space, let's say it is Home Depot or Lowe's that has a garden center with fertilizers and everything else, do you still inspect outside in that part of it, even though it's not under roof,
Yes.
then it should be included in, because they have to have fire extinguishers and everything else out there.
We're working on an ordinance and we can include it, but my concern would be when people add in and take away, like for Christmas trees or something like that, we're gonna have to have wording in the ordinance to clarify, maybe if it's permanent outside, that's what will make it permanent.
That's up to Sean, has to figure that out.
Yeah, no, right,
That's Sean's problem.
yeah, we'll
He's
clean
gotta
it
do the
up.
ordinance.
Yeah, we'll clean it up.
Okay.
So that actually brings up, that segues nicely into my question. When are fire permit inspections required?
So it depends on the occupancy. So they call the office and they say, what are you doing inside there? And if it's something that fits into the code, they're required. It starts
How do we track that?
through
Are we
codes. It
tracking
starts at codes, yes, it starts at codes. They go to codes, they pull a permit,
Okay,
then depending on what they're doing, Paul sends it over to our office. If we're not sure, we send somebody out to do kind of like a pre-inspection and look at it.
okay, so it's tied directly to pulling permits and renovation work. It has nothing to do with an annual, check-in or anything.
Well, that's an annual inspection. They get an annual inspection, yes.
Okay, so that's not tied to permits.
So it's a fire code permit that happens every year. We come inspect and it's called a fire code permit.
Okay. So I would think, and food for thought as you are working through the ordinance, anything that's a pop-up that would require
We get that.
inspection, right? I mean, you have, if you're doing a tree sale or something out there, usually fire extinguishers. I don't know if that's different from this type of fire permit inspection, or if that's just a regular inspection that's tied to construction.
So the short answer is it depends. We do pop-up tents, we inspect them, and there's a fee for that. We do.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
Any other questions? Sean, so we need another ordinance.
Okay.
Okay?
Well, our office will have a chief and we'll move something forward.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments or public comments for Public Health and Safety Committee?
The only thing I'd like to put out there, only because it'll be time sensitive, the police department, I talked to them at the Pumpkins Parade. They're looking for food drives. The Breakfast with Santa for the Kiwanis Club on Sunday, December 3rd at the tech school. We're going to collect food. The police department is going to collect food for that date at that event. We will also, when Kiwanis does their tree lighting on Saturday, November 18th, the police will be there to collect food. This is something new that we're doing just for the food banks, but they do it all the time for all different things. We just said they could do it at our two events for Kiwanis here. So I just wanted to put that out there that we'll be collecting food at those two for the police department.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
How about store coupons or credit cards, cash cards?
That is up, however, the police do, we're just saying at those two events,
Yeah,
we're letting the police be there, so.
But it,
We gladly take anything that's donated and it goes to the food bank one way or the other.
okay,
Good.
so you have an option then.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other commissioner comments or public comments for this committee? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, and tickets are available in the lobby.
That was pretty good.